Your reaction, do you see a change of tone? Do you welcome a change of emphasis from the British Prime Minister saying that workers cannot be forced to go back to workplaces that are unsafe?
Well, we've had a very confusing few days, I think, for most workers across Britain. We had the kind of pretty chaotic announcement on Sunday, which suggested that workers should go back on Monday. Yesterday, we did see new guidelines published around workplace safety, and we do think they're a step forward. Really important that no one is forced into work in a workplace that is unsafe, and some signs that governments have been listening to what unions have been telling them for weeks around the need for employers to conduct a risk assessment, to publish that risk assessment so that workers can actually know the steps they've taken to make their workplace safe. But of course, those risk assessments still have to happen. People need to be able to see them. We still have to have the guidelines about how transport will be safe for people to get to work. And there's, the ongoing crisis in personal protective equipment and whether people can have access to that too. So, still quite a lot to be done before people can feel fully secure about going back to work.
He did urge, I'm trying to remember what he said on Sunday, and it was a lot of, maybe slightly confused it. Well, it raised more questions than answers, as people have been saying. I believe he urged people to avoid public transportation, right? He said it's much better to drive or even better, walk or cycle to work. Does that mean if you need to take public transportation, then you should be staying home?
Well, it's been slightly unclear. That was one of the things that caused the confusion. I think the guidance is slightly clearer now, saying, you can only to avoid public transport where possible. I live in London, and it's simply not possible for many people in London to be avoiding public transport. That's, millions of people catching the tube every day to get to work. I think we are expecting new guidelines on transport and how to maintain social distance on transport, which is really, really necessary. But I think there will be real questions for people who simply can't get to work if if transport isn't running, what they're meant to do. And I think we do need further reassurance on that.
We see reports today, Kate, that the Chancellor might extend the furlough scheme from the end of June to the end of September, so allowing the Treasury to pay people's wages for a number of, for more months. I suppose that's something that you will welcome if we hear that later today.
Absolutely. I think what we've learned over this week is that, the economy is still going to be restricted for many months to come, basically. And many people who want to be back at work, businesses who want to be open, can't be in the foreseeable future. And during that time, it's vital that the furlough scheme continues playing that really valuable role it's had of keeping people in work, of protecting people's livelihoods, and making sure that, when it is safe to reopen those businesses, they're ready to go. They've got their trained staff still on their books, and, those staff haven't kind of experienced a catastrophic hit to their income. So that would be a welcome announcement, and looking forward to hearing what the Chancellor says this evening, I think.
Kate, how many people do you expect to remain working from home? I mean, we've heard from bank CEOs that this is functioning a lot better than they had anticipated. We've heard from a lot of CEOs that they themselves plan to remain working from home for at least some of the time. Is this going to be a new normal?
Well, I think one thing that did come out of that guidance yesterday, and in fact actually was clear on Sunday, was the Prime Minister said clearly, work from home if you can. I think people have been surprised about how they've been able to work from home, how that's gone much better than expected for many people. And I think office workers are going to see, probably a long period of working from home. But that's simply not possible for many people. And I think, one of the other things we saw this week was those kind of awful mortality statistics from the Office for National Statistics showing the kind of jobs which are facing heightened risk from COVID. So people who really can't work from home, so security guards, taxi drivers, cleaners, care workers, and I think those are the people who we've got to be absolutely crystal clear that employers have a duty to protect and must do those risk assessments to make their workplaces safe.
If we see a situation, Kate, how do we get the unions and employees and the government on the same page here? If we see recommendations drawn up and companies can demonstrate that they have followed those recommendations, should staff then feel that everything has been done that can be done to go back to work? And would you then recommend that people do?
Absolutely. And, we know working people, our members want to go back to work. They want to be working, they want to be, earning a livelihood. It's worth remembering that if you're on the furlough scheme, you're taking a pretty big cut to your pay. You're taking, a fifth of your pay has probably been cut unless your employer's topped that up. And, the people want to go back to work. They want to know it's safe. And what we've been calling for all along is just make sure that employers, do provide them that reassurance that it's safe, that they conduct that risk assessment, that they set out the steps they'll take to protect people, and that they publish that so that people can see what they're doing. And then I think, people do want to go back to work, and that's what they'll do when they know that their workplace is secure.